Ah, Crazy Hand in all his glory, folks. Hey, what's Crazy Foot doing in the shot? Get out! Anyway, folks, I'm here to talk about professional reviewers today. I think there's a large difference between a professional game reviewer and a real gamer. A real gamer to me is someone who plays games because he or she enjoys them. Doesn't play games because it's their job to do it. Doesn't play games and hold them to certain industry standards. Just judges the games by how fun they are, not by some things that, well, they might enjoy the game, but you know, they have to hold it to certain standards, and well, it has this little aspect that, well, I'm not really bothered by it, but there's standards. I mean, do you really think we should be listening to people who talk like that? I know X-Play is most infamous for talking like that, but all professional reviewers do it to an extent. They talk about graphics and sound quality and all stuff like that. You know, and yeah, plenty of actual gamers factor that in too, but they factor it in because as to how much it enhances their enjoyment of the game, not as to how much it should be held to a standard there. You see the difference, folks? I mean, I'll be the first to admit that I don't think graphics should ever factor in, but at least if you're going to factor them in, factoring them in based on how much you find them to enhance your enjoyment of the game is at least the right way to do it if you're going to. Now I'm going to give two examples here. Final Fantasy 13 got good professional reviews, but what do actual users say about it? See, game rankings, which has some professional reviews in it, although some user reviews, versus GameFAQs rating, which is okay, it's only slightly lower, although user reviews at least is significantly lower. And that seems to be the trend with Final Fantasy 13 in general. I mean, you will get people. It tends to be a love it or hate it game, but professional reviewers pretty much universally talked it up. You know, and I gotta say, you know, that's kind of not cool because you're really not giving your opinion of the game. You're just going on certain standards that really don't denote the quality of the game. And you're not, and that's the thing, when you do stuff like that, you're not even really giving your opinion of the game. But back to give another example, a game that got okay reviews, but how do actual users think about it? Let's see. 3D.Game Heroes. See, I mean, we all know it's a single A on Metacritic, but let's look at the rating average. See, the majority of people who would actually be interested in this game in the first place, and you can barely see the other numbers, but majority of people who would actually go for a game like this in the first place would rate it way up here, not over here or between here. No, they pretty much rate it over here. And there's a good reason for that, because the professional reviewers who marked it down a bit, you want to know why they marked it down? Because they cited originality. Calling 3D.Game Heroes unoriginal is like calling Spaceballs a ripoff of Star Wars. It's moronic. I mean, who rates like that? And that's another thing. They've become so caught up in their bullshit, in their standards, that they don't even realize the trash they're talking that makes no sense. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, those of you who remember Spaceballs, you know what I'm talking about. Of course it borrows material from Star Wars, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily a rip-off. It's an obvious parody. But, of course, professional reviewers are so caught up in their standards that they don't even see this stuff. We have some time, so let's give another example. You should all know what this game is. Let's see. When you have professional reviews, when you don't. I wonder, could it be that real gamers are more likely to recognize dreck as well as quality? Maybe it is. I don't know. See, folks, this is what I'm talking about. I'm just saying that if you're going to pay attention to reviews to make your judgment, don't do it with professional reviews. Use the reviews of real gamers. Now let me show you an example of what I'm talking about. We're going to go to the Wii this time. This is more for showing you the review and how one can read it than it is making an example of how professional reviews differ from reader reviews. In this case, they're not that different, but look at this one. This is 7 out of 10. This is a good example review to read because you can get an idea because this person's likely to note the game's flaws as well as its merits. You may or may not agree with his opinions, but you can pretty much figure out what the facts are from reading the review, and if you want, you can read the opinions and see if you identify with them or not. Like if he says that he hates the game because it's just a bunch of short mini games. Well, do you identify that or do you not? Let's say he likes the game because he finds the swordplay exhilarating. He finds swinging the Wii remote like you swing the sword to be an exhilarating experience. Do you agree? Do you identify that with that or do you not? See, you may get some of that from professional reviews, but you'll get a lot of clutter like, well, there's some standards that I think this game just doesn't quite meet. It has this. We don't think that should ever be in a game. You don't get that from reviews of real gamers, or at least you don't get it much. So, if you have to use any opinions to gauge, use that of real gamers, not professional reviewers. And really, ultimately, you got to form your own opinion in the end anyway. You can't use the pooled opinions of even real gamers to judge what you think of a game. It's just not the right way to do things. But anyway, I just thought I'd talk about this subject because I really do think it's plaguing the game community. Not as bad as Microsoft's attempts to take over the industry and destroy it like they did with operating systems, word processing programs, and so forth, but it's still a plague on the industry, or the game world, whatever. You know what I mean, folks. So, this is Crazy, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.